everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. This is the regular board meeting for the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Ettinger, can you take the roll call, please?
Eric Brooks.
Here.
Mitch Gallagher.
Here.
Natalie Grenz.
Here.
Thomas Harlan.
Here.
Betty Koenig.
Here.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Here.
Diane Voigt.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Kelly Piasek.
Here. And Mrs. Ettinger, can you please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
All right, thank you. We are going to begin tonight with Bright Lights. Before we get into our program, though, I would like to just make a quick motion to modify the order of the agenda. So if anyone would humor me there, I'd like to move to just reorder the public comments and the recognitions this evening. So we would do Bright Lights, student representative, we don't have students, obviously no. Bright Lights, and then citizen speakers, and then recognitions. So I make that motion. Someone second that. Seconded by Mr. Brooks. Ms. Ettinger, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Natalie Grenz.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0. Thanks, everyone. We're going to jump right in then to Bright Lights, and I'll hand it over to Dr. Siebert.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Getterman to handle tonight's Bright Lights. Just so you know, we are trying to make a real valiant effort to maximize these opportunities. We have so much to be proud of in the School District of Waukesha, so we'll make a regular attempt to have Bright Lights and recognitions at all of our meetings. So, Ms. Getterman, thank you for your help.
No problem. So as I introduce the topic, we have two individuals that will come to the podium and then share a little bit more with each of you. So as they're coming up, I want to share with you that in the School District of Waukesha, we continue to grow and add to the education profession and grow our own staff. Educators are often engaged in master's level courses once they are teaching. They're often searching for a master's degree or an additional license in the area of curriculum instruction or their principal license. For each area of additional certification, adult students engage in a practicum experience with someone working in the field. Each summer, our directors and principals take time to serve as the practicum supervisor with the students in partnership with the college that they are attending. We have had as many as 6 practicum students in one summer. This year, we are honored to have 2 practicum students who are SDW graduates and current SDW educators. Each of them will introduce themselves, inform you where they graduated, where they're teaching now, and a few highlights and takeaways from their experience thus far.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Mitchell Hennis. I am currently a teacher at Waukesha North High School in the physical education department, as well as the men's head basketball coach. I graduated from the Waukesha Academy of Health Professions back in 2016, where I loved every experience I had there and the schools that I had along the way. Right now, when we're finishing up our practicum here as the school year is about to begin, I want to point out, first I want to say thank you to everybody at district office that has allowed us to be in the different meetings and helping us get a lot of different learning opportunities. But things that I'm going to take away from here are going to be how much effort goes into preparing teachers and administrators and everything that goes into preparing for a school year, as well as the amount of collaboration that happens between the different groups of people, whether it's human services, teaching and learning, and how well they work together to create a great product here at Waukesha.
Hi, I am Saida Cedillo. I am currently working at Butler Middle School as a special ed dual language teacher. I graduated from Waukesha West when I think Ryan Pat was the principal. I want to say the same thing. Thank you to Jen, to Melissa Yao, to Dr. Sievert for allowing us to sit in some of those meetings that are held in private doors, allowing us to be around the building, helping you guys and learning along our directors. A few things that I will take away from this experience is how much collaboration, communication, and leadership goes into making sure that our students are successful, as well as how much time just it takes. Like, it is a lot of work, but just making sure that we support those students and their success. What I am learning right now, I am hoping to reflect as an educator and how I can become a better leader. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that update. And congratulations, and also thank you to both of you for making the commitment to do this work. And we have noticed you sitting through a lot of our meetings that sometimes we wish we didn't even have to be here for. So, so thank you for your time and attention to all of this and to our students as well. All right, we are going to move then to our opportunity for citizens to speak. We have, now I need to do more than ever. We have 5 speakers this evening. Because there are 6 speakers or less, speakers will be notified at 3 minutes, but allowed up to 5 minutes to complete their comments. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and to be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board or committee meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board does not endorse any comments made by members of the community here tonight. We'd like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and podium should be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phones. Our first speaker tonight will be Eric Kroom, followed by Paul Reese.
Sorry.
No problem.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Eric Kroom. I am a Waukesha resident of over 20 years. I am also a veteran. I'm actually here to represent a security company, Rufus Prestige Protection. We're not looking to replace what you already have. We're more so just trying to add on to it as a extra layer of precautions because we believe that the best measures are preventative measures, not avenging measures. There's so much more I can say. I know I've emailed a few of you, like more in detail about what we were offering. I believe I emailed 5 of you-ish toward the beginning of summer. I apologize, it's taking me so long. This is the only time I've actually had to get off of work. But in short, I guess, just wanted to introduce myself, more of a face to the name, to the email as well. I don't really have too much to say because I feel like the email already explained it, but hello, introducing again. Sorry, I'm very awkward.
It's okay. Unfortunately, we can't have a dialogue with you during the public comment section, so it might feel like we're not
No, you're
engaged, but
perfectly fine.
it's just unfortunately the circumstances we're in, so.
You're perfectly fine. I just more so wanted to introduce myself to put a face to the name. But nice to meet you guys. That's all I have. Do I have to stand up here or?
No, you're, you can if you want to. Thank you. Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Paul Reese, followed by Melissa Toledo.
Good evening. I've been coming here for a couple minutes, and all those minutes, Sue Energy has been here.
Can you get your mic, Paul? You can start over.
Anyways, I've been coming here for a while, and Sue's always been here. And it's going to be quite a culture shock with her not here anymore. It's going to change the way it feels coming in here. I was thinking today, the one thing about Sue Henninger is, with all the things that have gone on in this board and all the things that have been said about people in this room, there's the one person that no one can say anything bad about, and I've never heard anything bad about. And that says a lot for someone. That's just what the type of person Sue is. She gets along with everybody. She's kind and courteous to everyone. She goes out of the way for everyone. She has been just a wonderful person to get to know while I've come here, just to greet people. She's been a great representative for this district in that fashion. They're going to be sorely missed without you here, Sue. And I know you, when Sue said she was retiring, the smile on her face finally was just lit up. And her smile and my heart sunk. So it's going to be difficult without you and seeing you here every month, Sue. That being said, like I've said, I've lived here for a while and been in this community for a few minutes, and I'm old enough to remember when the Horizon West condominiums shut down, and they were given no time to move. And I've heard complaints about this in here, that 3 days with 2 months' notice isn't enough time to get prepared to people, for some to get ready to clear out a classroom. I don't think there's a room in my house I couldn't clear out in 5 hours. Also, I know Kelly likes props here, so I left mine at home, otherwise I'd bring my crystal ball, because we're going to start school here in a little bit. And the beginning of the school year is difficult. It always is. There's always problems, and they're going to be amplified this year because there's going to be a lot of gnashing of teeth at every little problem there is. So my ask of the administration is to be ready to answer that these things happen every year, and to have the examples ready, because every year when we start school, these kids have nothing to do. It isn't like the old days when they had to go to work on the farm all day and had to work, and this was kind of a break for them to go to school. Now they've been on a break for months. And for some of them, getting back in this habit is difficult. And this is the time of year when we lose some students. Kids that were good students now come back and they're lost. They are not going to be good students again. And that's just the way this goes. But we have to have answers because you're going to be questioned about it. And it's going to come up. As it happened the last time we moved schools, there was a class that had a troubled student. And of course, that was highlighted as a big problem, but it's a problem every year. And I just urge this administration to be ready to answer that, because there will be gnashing of teeth. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Melissa Toledo, followed by Bill Baumgart.
Good evening, everyone. I have to admit, it was a hard time deciding on what to talk through tonight, as there's not enough topics, but actually too much to pick from. So we could talk about the student safety, especially as some of our children will now be walking way busier streets to get to school, which I hope each of you actually care about the children's safety and consider this an important topic to be looking into. We could talk about increasingly congested drop-off and pickup areas. We could talk about schools that are at or over capacity and whether there's enough support there that they need. We could talk about Lowell and the need for a better drop-off and pickup route that still hasn't been answered or have a solution for. We could talk about our growing dependence on iPads and technology in classrooms. We could also talk about the significant costs of renovations and upgrades completed over the summer that I don't think many of us of the public know how much those cost. So there's actually plenty of topics to choose from, but tonight I decided to pick something that represents a much bigger strategic failure and that is near and dear to my heart, which is our dual language program. We have a long-standing and successful program, some of you which put your kids through, and it should be one of the things we proudly put in front of our families when we talk about what makes School District of Waukesha different. And yet I continue to question whether we are actually treating it that way, along with many others. We don't promote it enough, we don't invest in it enough, and we have even sold one of our former schools to competing charter school offering a similar program. I've gotten flyers for La Casa's dual language program. They have yard signs up at different parks to get people's interest. And then you can see online how quickly mothers are looking at the Adeline Montessori School for their program. But yet our dual language program, no promotion. We have an established program that families were choosing, and instead of aggressively protecting and growing that asset, we created an opportunity for a competitor to attract students who have already remained in our district, who could have remained in our district. And as I mentioned in my last speech, we're talking about maybe $10,000 per student that goes to that school taken away from our public schools here at School District of Waukesha, assuming that that number is accurate. But here's the part that's really frustrating to me. Last October, I personally dedicated my time to participate in an interview to replace an 11-year-old parent testimonial video about our dual language program that was on the website. I did that because I believe in the program. I believe families have to hear directly from parents about the value of it. And I thought, great, we're finally going to do something and have something that's more current and actually helps us sell this program. And yet, that video is nowhere to be found, and I haven't heard anything about it. So this might sound like a small thing, but to me, it represents a much larger issue. If we aren't willing to promote the program we already have, how can we expect families to choose it? And then there's the question of enrollment balance. I understand maintaining the integrity of a two-way dual language model and that it matters. But I also think we need to be willing to challenge assumptions and look at what is actually required versus what has simply become the way we've always done it. Wisconsin's DPI's guidance recognizes multiple instructional models, including 90-10, 80-20, 50-50. It describes two-way programs with student populations that include roughly 50 to 60 English learners and 40 to 50 English proficient students. So if a 40-60 student split can be still consistent with the state's description of a two-way program, why are we unwilling to seriously consider it? I'm not suggesting that we compromise the quality or integrity of the dual language program. Instead, I'm suggesting that we think creatively on how to keep the program healthy, accessible, and competitive, and then promote it. Because at the end of the day, we have a choice. We can continue to say dual language is a cornerstone of our district, which is written on our website, or we can actually act like it is one. That means promoting in it, investing in it, updating how we tell its story, looking honestly at enrollment practices, and making decisions that keep students and the resources that come with them within our district. Because sometimes the biggest problem isn't that we don't have good programs. It's that we don't act like we believe in the good programs that we already have. And I think our dual language program deserves better, as well as the
30
families who are
seconds.
in that program. Thank you.
The next speaker is Bill Baumgart, followed by Harvey Stowe. Welcome back, Mr. Baumgart.
Well, this is a bit of a switch, right? But it's a good thing from what I'm thinking about. And it's also a very nice place to be inside here. Let me start with the fact that over many years of working and meeting and situations like that, I got to see a lot about secretaries. And I know that's a common word, or not a common word, it's carefully used, but generically it's going to be today the word of that, secretaries. They can be good, average, weak. This is from my own career years ago. I've seen many different numbers. I think we have an unusually good one here. That's the way I'm looking at it. Unique person, maybe one of a kind, Sue. She knew that was coming, I guess, from someplace. But really, no, it's serious. As a board member, connected with various things, there's different ways to deal with them. You have to be careful in some situations because it's serious. And the other thing is, you are a board member is a leader. Some of the things that come on with being in that kind of a situation, I'm just going to pick a couple. There is no excuses for the kind of work you're doing. If that's what it is, you've got to do it, and you're one of the leaders. So do it. She does. Another situation that I think about and some of this is going back quite a few many years to my own days of work, not necessarily board member. But when you see certain things and you say certain things, you have to be careful in how you're dealing with other people and that are seeing those things or hearing those things. Some things are not open for talk, so you have to be careful on how you work with what's up and what's not up. Again, I think we have somebody that can handle that. jokes. Yeah, I like jokes, but there are situations which you don't use jokes. I have seen people that think that maybe that can make everything go better. It's not true. In most cases, it's not true. So one of the things that Sue and company have to watch, well, not anymore, but future, is how you deal with things like jokes. We all think they're good things anyway. So quite simply, looking at the situation we have here, I would like to put my view on what's going on. I think we have you have an extremely capable situation with
2
the people
minutes.
here. Sue specifically, who I've gotten to know over the years. Sue smiles, right there, you can see it. Sue smiles. She is an extremely capable person, a very nice person to work with, a special type of a person. Some of the things that just were popping in my head, and I got sure mentioned two things like this that we should talk about for board members, period, and particularly an example is here. Someone who's cheerful, someone who's patient, someone who's kind with people. And Sue, you're the best. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgart.
Stuck.
Our last speaker tonight is Harvey Stowe. Welcome, Mr. Stowe. Too late. Well,
Hello, my name is Harvey Stowe, longtime resident, longtime principal at Horning. It's an honor to follow Bill. By the way, they could use that as a shot clock, you know.
we've got one. We
I
have
mean,
one.
I've been impressed, right? I've been impressed. Or they could use that in my faculty meetings. But before I get to Sue's situation, I really want to publicly acknowledge the board for taking on tough decisions. Whether your people agree with it or not, obviously it's their choice. But if you look around and I study what's happening, there are districts out there that boards didn't take the challenge, and now the hole is deeper. They're asking for more money, millions and millions of dollars. And I know you got tougher decisions ahead, and I wish you all luck in the world. But I'm here for this young lady here, small things, and they come in, the best things come in small packages. But yes, it was I who hired her all those years ago. We had quite a few candidates for principal secretary. Why Sue? Well, I think Bill sort of hinted a little bit, but yes, she's got skills and she's competent and all those things. But if you describe her, you have to start with the word professional. She's always professional. I think the superintendent can tell you that whether it's at a school level in my case or the district level, somebody's mad, somebody's concerned, somebody's got misinformation, somebody wants to decide whether they want to come to our district or school. Where do they go? They tend to go to the top. They should go other places, but they tend to go to the top. And who is the first person they see is Sue. And the countless situations that she's handled for me over the years, I'm just totally impressed with. For 13 years, I was a professor at Concordia. And I used to tell my graduate administrative students, spend time hiring. Spend time, all that you can do to hire good people. And what you then do is support them and get out of their way. And boy, did I get out of Sue's way. As much as I could. God has blessed me with 4 tremendous women in my life. My mother, my wife for 54 years, Roberta Herman, who was my first one, and Sue for all those years. And I know I don't look it, but I was smart enough to realize, listen to them. And boy, did I ever. They say, and it's a cliche, I know, that it takes a community to educate a student. But honestly, Horning was a community back then. And we had a special culture. We were lucky. Tremendous parents. Faculty who wanted to be there, transferred, that was my biggest problem I had, was who could come, because they didn't have a lot of holes. And our kids. And by the way, I won't even tell you, but
2 minutes.
the other day, a very, very, very wealthy local car dealer called me Mr. Stowe, and I said, billionaires should not call people Mr. Stowe. And he said, yeah, but you suspended me. And, and I go, oh, God, and he probably has a dozen lawyers. I won't even go to the one where a police officer stopped my wife and I and wanted to remind me that I suspended him too. Boy, I was a tough guy back then. I didn't think I was. But but he stopped me to tell me that he used the word, I was a little you know what. But he said, I turned out okay. And he said, you cared enough to suspend me, which is an interesting thing. But on behalf of all those thousands of students and the staff, and you know we cared about you, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And I apologize for the countless short jokes. I apologize for the fact that back then I couldn't figure out what button to get a hold of you, so I would always just yell. And I really do apologize for that, but enjoy both of you and travel and have a great time. But really, thank you, because it was a blast. And yes, Bill, we did laugh a lot. See, I did behave pretty good, huh? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful. Okay, now we're going to move into recognitions, which is, so we're going to start with introduction of our new administrators.
Yes, we are. So we have two recognitions this evening. The first is recognizing some of our new administrators, and I'm going to welcome Mrs. Thiede to the podium to take that on for us.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So we were busy hiring, we're always busy hiring, but we definitely were busy hiring in the spring, several new administrators to the district. So I have a couple of them here this evening that I would like to put a name with a face. So I'm going to start with Nick Conrad. So Nick, if you don't mind just standing up so they can see you. So Nick is the new athletic director over at South, so they've all been on the job about 8 weeks here. He's definitely a calming presence whose goal is to get students involved in athletics and activities to then get them even more connected to school. He's established himself as a trusted AD in the Badger Conference and other surrounding conferences through his prior experiences before here. Mr. Conrad has a proven track record of building strong relationships with students and meaningful connections with families. As a resident of the community he now serves, Nick is especially passionate about investing in the city he calls home. Throughout his career, he has demonstrated a commitment to fostering positive school communities through collaboration, communication, and student-centered leadership. So I just want to put a name with a face and welcome Nick Conrad. Okay, and then next I have, so you can have a seat, so you don't have to stand the whole time. And then next I will call up Joandy Williams. So Joandy is the new principal of Banting Elementary School. So you may recognize Joandy because she most recently was the dean at Waukesha South High School. And then actually previously, before that, she was an instructional coach at Bethesda. So she is student-centered and has demonstrated a collaborative approach with students, staff, and families. She comes to this position with a wide range of educational experience. She is a bilingual continuous learner who is data-driven with a strong understanding of student behavior and supporting teachers. She is passionate about the dual language program and very excited to be in this role. So welcome, Joandy. And then Leslie Waltz, if you would please join me up front. So Leslie is the new assistant principal at Butler Middle School. You may also recognize Leslie because she is a dedicated bilingual professional who has served in SDW for 19 years, including roles as a substitute teacher, building administrative assistant, instructional coach, and most recently, district math coordinator. She had a deep understanding of the district, and her experience in all these roles gives her an extremely unique perspective. She understands that consistent follow-through with a visible presence are essential to building trust and strong relationships with all stakeholders. She values collaboration, consistency, and open communication in supporting students, staff, and families. So welcome, Leslie.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Thiede. We'll now move on to our second recognition of the evening, and it's going to be a very special moment as we recognize an amazing woman who has served in the School District of Waukesha since 1996. Her name is Sue Ettinger. She began her SDW career as the secretary to the principal at Horning Middle School, as you just heard from Mr. Stowe, at that time. She would selflessly serve there until her promotion to the executive assistant to the superintendent and board secretary on January 3rd, 2010, a position she has held until tonight and ultimately until her retirement on August 31st. Her dedication and commitment to the School District of Waukesha is admirable and impressive. She has championed the Lila Draper Burton Scholarship Program, as well as the Waukesha Education Foundation Casual for a Cause Thursday events, which have raised many thousands of dollars that have poured back into our teachers and district. She has led our board and our elections with integrity and confidence, and has been a trusted partner to me, Dr. Todd Gray, and the multiple board and cabinet members over that time period. No words can adequately express my gratitude to Sue for her commitment and service, not only to the groups previously mentioned, but also to our students, parents, and community members. The phone was always answered quickly, emails were promptly responded to, and our visitors were always treated with class. It is the end of an era for Sue in our district, yet it opens new opportunities for her and her husband, Jim. At this time, I'd like to offer Board President Dr. Piasek the opportunity to begin board member comments of recognition, and thank you very much, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Siebert. We are 9 of many board members that have had the opportunity to work with Sue over the last many years, 25. And I think, just based on the experience that we've had, I suspect everyone has had a similar and positive. But we wanted to take some time tonight to give anyone who might have some comments to offer the opportunity. And we could just go around, or we could start with whoever's would like to start. Mr. Zenobia? Mrs. Voigt, did I see your hand? Okay, and then Mrs. Voigt, and Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. I wanted to go first so that everybody could just repeat what I say, because I know everyone's going to say the same thing. I've been under the impression since I've been on this board that I was Sue's favorite board member. And really the reason that is just Sue makes you feel important. She's always kind. I think Mr. Baumgart said she's always professional, which is true. But just the warmth that you get from Sue whenever you go in, whenever you need something, I mean, she's more than helpful. She's a wonderful liaison for this board. I think a lot of us would be lost without her, but she really does give you that personal feel that you're very important, and that having you here and helping that process along is a very important job for her to do, and she's done it amazingly well, and I'm honored to have gotten to know you, and just appreciate all you've done for this board and for your many years of service. So thank you very much.
Mrs. Voigt. Thank you, Mr. Zenobia.
I wrote something down because I could only have a minute and trying to put a lot of thoughts into like just 1 minute time. I feel truly blessed to work closely with you, Sue, since my election to the school board in 2018. I got to see firsthand some of the many duties, especially when I was the board clerk. I can't count the number of forms, legal documents I had to sign after the referendum was approved, and we got to connect a lot during that time period. You served the board so well as our secretary. I marvel at your attention to detail. After teaching keyboarding and proofreading skills for 38 years, I have to commend you for putting up with me and realizing that it was very rare for me to even catch a mistake, even though that's been what I was trained to do, is to look for them. Not even a typo on those pages and pages of minutes that you prepare after every board meeting. Your 30 years of institutional knowledge has been a treasure to the 2 superintendents that work with you, and you've supported them as an amazing administrative assistant. Welcome to the wonderful world of retirement. Best wishes to you as you begin your next chapter. As you plan your next getaway to Hawaii, may I close with the word that has so many meanings, aloha. And I brought this from Hawaii for you.
Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. Sue, you have been a ray of sunshine since my days of teaching in the district. I looked so forward to your Thursday Casual for a Cause emails. You'd always have so much fun with it. And you got everybody so motivated to be able to pay those $5 to wear the jeans. It was just, you made it so fun, and it was a joy to just participate. Even if you didn't want to wear jeans, I just wanted to participate because you made it fun. When I walked in and asked for a retirement package, I remember, I was a little teary, and you're like, oh, it's awesome, good for you. And then 2 years later, when I walked in and asked you for, I'd like to run for the school board, I remember the shock and the smile on your face, and it's good for you. So you were just nothing but sunshine the entire time I've known you and working with you in different contexts, and we're really going to miss you, but I am so excited for you for this next chapter. You so deserve it. So thank you for everything you've done.
Mr. Brooks,
Thank you.
and then Mr. Gallagher.
So when Sue the other day told me that I was in her top 25 favorite board members, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I heard that there's only been 25, and now I'm a little bit wondering where I'm at in that pecking order. But setting that aside, I'm just so grateful for your service to this community and this board. Both, all the things that you do for us to keep our meetings just running smoothly and giving us the resources that we need to be prepared, and just all the things that go unnoticed about what you do that we certainly don't take for granted. Very appreciative of that, just being the smiling, welcoming face of this boardroom, of this community for several years, whether it's folks coming in here, to the boardroom for a board meeting or coming into the school district just to ask questions. On our personal end, I think it's just, whether it's this side of the table where things can get hectic, or whether it's on the campaign side where at the last minute I'm calling, asking for questions or getting a second form for something, you are always this steady, reassuring hand that just can kind of settle some of the some of the craziness that can happen in this world. And I'm so grateful for all the service and all of your dedication to this community, and we're going to miss you.
Mr. Gallagher, and then Ms. Kozlowski.
Yeah, it's pretty clear, like, what you mean to everybody here. I'm obviously the newest member. I haven't been here very long, but even so, from the beginning, you make it feel like I've been here for 5 years. So on a personal level, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your help from the campaign all the way through today. You've always made me feel like I've been here forever, so I appreciate that, and thank you.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
So, here we go. When I heard about you retiring, I thought, wow, these are some heels to fill. In the course of the time here, it's very few that you find a shining star that hangs out with the chaos that becomes the work that you do. You've shined with us when we've been doing great things. You've held our hands when it was hard. You've supported each and every person in this district and on this board without a question, without a position, and without any type of judgment. You smiled, you led, you lifted, you held hands. The Farm Fleet gummies were always a benefit. The work that you have done is so going to be very hard to replace, because it's more than meeting minutes, and it's more than election integrity, and it's more than supporting the crazies of all of us who are late with election papers, forgot something, need you to run, and you do. The support that you've given to the board, to me personally, has been that of a friend, a leader, a mentor, a coach, a guide, and a host. Very, very tough heels to fill, and I'm going to miss you like crazy, but I'm so happy for where you're going.
Well, thanks. Now we're all crying. Mr. Harland?
No, Sue, it has been a pleasure to work with you over the past few years.
absolutely. Everything that everyone has already said. I don't think I've ever seen a moment of frustration from you, even though you hide it very well then. So thank you for always being that positive. Thank you for being there up until the last minute as I'm rushing to turn in a document. So appreciate staying that extra time, and I hope you never grow weary of doing good work and continue to do good work in the years to come.
Thank you. And Mrs. Grant?
I had to write mine down because I tend to get a little emotional. And then I lose my thought. Sue, I just want to let you know how truly appreciated you are, and all this testament here today definitely shows that your kindness, your patience, professionalism, and willingness to help never go unnoticed. You do so much behind the scenes to support all of us, and you always seem to do it with such grace. I'm so grateful for everything you do for the superintendent, the board, and our entire district. We are incredibly lucky to have you. Thank you, Sue.
All right, well, just a few things from me, which may or may not get emotional, but I'll try not to. It's Carrie's fault. As Mr. Stowe said, and I relate to, for many of us, for so many people in the district, whether we're parents here already, you are the first interaction that we have coming that door. Or our first interaction with district administration, period. So you're representing all of us. And I was thinking about all those firsts that Sue was there for. Whether it was the first time speaking at a board meeting for many of us, our first open records request, maybe the first time running for school board, you were there to help, unbiased, and resourceful and patient. The first cursed complaint phone call that any one of us received that you may have answered. The first time maybe getting lost at Lindholm because everything kind of looked the same on every floor. She was also there the first time I saw my first unanticipated critter at Lindholm. The first packet, all the things. And as others have said, like there's the little things. I think many people don't appreciate what happens at these stations prior to the board meetings, and Sue does all of that, and she makes all of that come together so that we can look good. But it's all the extra things, and it's just the kindness and, like I said, the patience. You have a very unique ability to summarize what dozens, if not hundreds of, maybe thousands of people over the last 16 years have taken 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to say in like 6 words. And you can get it, and everybody knows what it meant. So that's a really unique ability. For those of us who have happened to come into the office to give or receive something to or from Sue and have our kids with us, or maybe it's just us as adults, they know where the candy bowl is. They know that it's always full, and we're grateful for that. Maybe the best thing for me, and I feel, maybe sorry for the rest of you, but I have the joy of seeing Sue at church on Sundays. And so I get to keep seeing her, and I'm looking forward to that. I will also be bringing my Post-it note with my list of questions for you when I see you on Sunday, so be ready for that. But we're all just so grateful for everything that you've done for all of us and for the community. And I don't think there's anyone who's interacted with you who doesn't know that you wanted them to be successful in whatever it was that they were seeking from you. So thank you for that.
Before we wrap up, I'd also like to, Dr. Piasek and I are going to present you with a plaque, and I'd like to read what is on the plaque to you. It says, in recognition of outstanding service, Susan Ettinger, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board Secretary, January 3rd, 2010 through August 31st, 2026. With deepest gratitude and appreciation for your years of dedicated service, exceptional leadership support, and unwavering commitment to the School District of Waukesha. Your professionalism and steady guidance behind the scenes have made a lasting impact on our schools, leadership, and community. Wishing you a happy, restful, and well-deserved retirement.
I started in 2011 here.
This plaque has a chip, so we're getting a new one.
Perfect.
Yes. And we're going to ask you to waive your no photography clause in your contract for the next 5 minutes.
Let's maybe move right over here.
Thank you, everybody. I am not good at getting attention. All of the 25 are my favorites. Except for one, but we won't go into that. I want to give a special thank you to Harvey Stowe. That man is unique, and he gave me 15 years of total laughter, a lot of short jokes. He could never, ever figure out his telephone, so he would be in his office around the corner and yell, "Mrs. Stein," who I was at the time, "can you transfer this call for me?" So I'd have to run into his office and get it. But the reason I want to thank him is when I applied for that job, there were 60 people that applied. It came down to 2. The other woman had 10 years' experience in a middle school in Milwaukee. I was a stay-at-home mom that ended up going to work at a bank for 2 years just to get experience. He took a chance on me, and he said, "It's just, I know you don't have all the skills, but there's something about you." And I want to thank him for taking a chance on me. And I figured that this is the time for me to leave because my experiences with Waukesha started at Bethesda, where my kids went, and I was on the PTO. I was the Sunshine Committee. I was very involved, the room mom for every year. And then Horning. The 2 schools, they're closing their doors and I'm closing mine. All with good endings, all with happy endings, and all of us looking to the future. I want to thank all of you. I appreciate it. All the chances you gave me, all of the times I have made mistakes. And I especially want to thank all the people in this building who are amazing to work with. We have a fantastic district. And I wish that the people on Facebook, if they really want to align with us, would start talking about the good things that happen in this district and the good people in this district, and stop fighting us but work with us, because we'll soar. And I want to thank my husband, who always knew after long board meetings to either be there waiting with a glass of wine or a hug or both. Thank you. And for all of my gals, like Stacy, who work so hard behind the scenes, thank you. You guys are my friends forever. So thank you for this opportunity. And it's going to be fine. My replacement is going to be great. It's going to be good. Just treat her nice.
We will. Well, if she's not going to say who her favorite board member is, maybe she'll say who her favorite public speaker ever was.
Well, this race is the longest.
Thank you for everything. All right. All right, we did that part. We're on to minutes approval. I didn't miss anything, did I? Okay. We have one set of minutes for your consideration tonight, and that is for the July 8th regular board meeting.
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Brooks, seconded by Mrs. Grenn. Any comments? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Natalie Grenn.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0. Then we will move next to the WEF report. It will be a good one tonight. Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you, Madam President. The Waukesha Education Foundation Board of Directors met on Thursday, June 4th, but every board member attended the golf outing last week to either participate or to just help out. Our 2026 grant cycle is still open and will remain open until September 14th. We are in professional development season right now. We ask all principals, program administrators, and leaders to encourage staff to use our grant program as a resource as we get ready to support you through the 26-27 school year. The 20th annual golf outing was held on August 6th. We had 206 registered golfers and an amazing day with the most perfect weather. Thank you to everyone who participated, sponsored, donated items, or volunteered their time. We very much appreciate it. Mark your calendars for next year's event, Thursday, August 5th, 2027. Planning for the 2027 Evening for Education is getting underway this week. It will be our 25th anniversary celebration, and the date should be determined soon. We are still seeking committee members to help us plan, and if you know someone who would be interested, please reach out to Lynette or Janica. Watch your emails and our social media for information on the 2026 WEF Awards. Nominations will be opening soon. Our 2025 annual report is finally complete, and we have shared a copy of it at your desk this evening. Once you finish looking at it, consider passing it along to a potential donor or sponsor. Thank you. The WEF Board will meet again in September, and we wish you all a great rest of your summer. Madam President, that concludes my WEF report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, we're going to turn it back to Dr. Siebert for an update on the Optimizing Our Future implementation.
All right, so Ms. Getterman's going to pull up the presentation for us. This is our August edition of this report, and this actually will be our last edition of this report in this particular form, because once we get to September 1, we won't be planning, or we will be in full school and full implementation mode. We'll still give you updates during the superintendent's report, certainly. But we're going to skip to the August slide. You know, we've been doing a monthly update for you, dating back to January when we started this format of reporting, and actually been talking about this process since April of 2025. So in terms of August, we've had a very successful summer as we've been reporting to you on a regular basis. Last week, we had 3 days with the principals to prepare for the launch of the new 26-27 school year. Monday and Tuesday, we had our strategic planning days at Waukesha West, and our school leadership teams were there. It was very neat to see people coming together that you knew were at schools their entire life, and now they're wearing different shirts, and they're still very highly engaged, very energetic, and really coming together around not the building, but the mission of serving students. So it's been really wonderful to see. We have our school Welcome To events. We have 4 dates for those coming up here in later August, the 20th, the 25th, the 26th, and 27th. Some of you might think of those as open houses. They've been called different things over the years. We have a slide coming up. We had a targeted date of August 15th, which is this Friday, to open all of the schools. We are opening schools up ahead of schedule, as you'll see, and everybody will be open by that targeted deadline. And then lastly, Ms. Genderman and Briley and Kate have been working diligently on our new website and mobile app, and so all of that will be debuted here at the end of August to all of our parents, and that will include information on our new two-way communication device and tool called Rooms. That'll be available on the district app, and that'll become a great two-way communication tool as part of our Act 89 compliance. So going to our next slide, Mrs. Thiede has been updating these numbers for us. So when we talked in June, our elementary class size average was 20.7. When we talked in July, it moved to 20.6, and now as we are in August, it is at 20.5. So we're excited about that. And you remember we talked in the slide to the left throughout the entire process about that 21 rough number that we've had for the long haul, right? So we've been consistently able to reestablish ourselves in that area with declining enrollment, and then there were adjustment of our staffing picture, and Mrs. Thiede does a wonderful job with that. Moving to the next slide, the average class sizes at Butler and Les Paul remain consistent, as you can see, and those have been the ones we've been reporting since June. Our middle school enrollment is staying relatively stable as well in the next slide. So I think we have lost one student at Butler, and we've picked up two at Les Paul. So the percentages of capacity don't change, but it's the typical summer in and out, right? And there is always a little bit of movement. So that's where we'll start the year in just a few weeks. And then ultimately, as I talked about, we have been successful, Mr. Clark, Mr. McCarthy, and the maintenance team in getting the moves done successfully ahead of schedule. And to the extent that we can get teachers back into their buildings earlier than later, there's an advantage to that, right? So we began with the Waukesha STEM Academy, which is our K-8 site at the Horning site. That opened on August 4th. So teachers have been in there for over a week, getting all of their boxes emptied and their classrooms set up. On August 5th, we opened Hillcrest, Prairie, Higher, and Butler. On August 6th, we opened Banting, Summit View, Rose Glen, and North, South, and West. And then today, actually, we opened Hadfield and Meadowbrook. And so targeted for the next, either tomorrow or Friday, will be also Les Paul and Lowell. Les Paul and Lowell, with the amount of teachers transferring into those buildings, it's taking a little bit longer, but we will certainly be on track. And you see the graphic on the right, that is because of Mr. Yearling's leadership, we ultimately have all the moving happen, and then we also have the technology upgrades that come behind that to make sure that we're having a balanced and even playing field across the district, and that people have the technology that they need to effectively instruct. And so this sticker or this logo piece of paper is on their door and in their room, showing them all the things that have happened and that their classroom is ready to make the learning magic happen. Here are some pictures from Monday and Tuesday when we did the strategic planning days at Waukesha West. We actually, Monday we had all of our schools there. Yesterday we had the elementary and the middle schools there, and actually the high schools will all be there again tomorrow, finishing their second day. That's a huge credit to Ms. Genderman and her team, exceptionally strong design of those days, and those teams really had a lot of ability to have teamwork time, and the principals are doing a wonderful job building that collaborative culture that I talked about earlier, and people that were from Horning that are wearing Les Paul shirts and people from Bethesda that are wearing Summit View shirts are really coming together, and it's really powerful to see and really highly engaging and very electric couple of days as we plan for the next school year. That starts here in just a few weeks. So in terms of next steps, which we always end this presentation with, the buildings are getting ready to host those Welcome to events, which are exciting. Our educators' first professional day is a week from today, believe it or not, August 19th. We'll be starting that day with our professional educators at South in the auditorium for a district-wide Welcome Back event. We are really working hard to maximize this new opportunity that we have in the school district of Waukesha. Smaller footprint, but certainly the same expectations in terms of curricular expectations, staffing expectations, student learning expectations, and we're going to kick that all off with everybody with a common message. Later that day, we'll be having a luncheon for the technology team and the custodial maintenance teams to thank them for all of their work over the summer. I'll be doing that here at Blair. We'll send you invites to these things, and we'll certainly post them as well. And then next month in September, as part of our Bright Lights and recognitions, we will have the custodial and maintenance and technology teams here so that we can all give them our congratulations for us. Some are very hard work, but very solid work that is going to have everybody ready to go. We walked through South today. It's one of the few schools where we still have tile, where we still have that glow and glisten, right? You know what that's like when you were a kid and you went to school and it's like those floors just gleam. We were in there today and it's so ready, right? We're so ready to get the school year started. And that's first day for the kids will be on September 1st. Labor Day is late this year. Per state statute, we can start September 1 or later, so we're maximizing the opportunity to start on September 1. So that'll be great. And ultimately, this will be a time where we can try to answer any questions you might have or discuss anything you'd like further. But it's been a great summer. It's been a great process. It's been a great overall collective effort by a lot of people. And ultimately, as I've said multiple times, we appreciate your support of this work. So you heard it at the podium today. It's not easy work. They're not easy decisions that you had to make, but they were, in my opinion, necessary decisions to make sure that the School District of Waukesha is sustainable for the long haul. So I'll stop there and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. I suspect there are some questions, and I will kick that off just by saying I love the classroom readiness ticket. Like, that's just fantastic, so appreciate that. And hopefully that's a nice way to reassure our educators as they're coming into something new that there's been a lot of thought and process put into being ready for them. Mrs. Kozlowski, and then, did I see somebody over here? Mrs. Koenig? Okay.
I think it's pretty remarkable, and I know as a board member, I was very hopeful to be where we're at. There's a lot of anticipation, there's a lot of work that led up to the decisions that we made and the execution of that. And when you watch now and just to hear, there is momentum and there is excitement and there is new beginnings and there is new things that are happening that I have heard just in my areas, just a positive time in looking forward to the new school year and what lies ahead. And I think that speaks a lot to the work that the cabinet has done. I think it speaks tremendously to our staff and pulling all that together. And I'm excited for our students to come back in the environments ready to learn the shiny new floors. I actually remember how you could slide across them. But I'm grateful for the work that has been done because it is a thankless job. It was exceptionally hard, and I'm very proud of how we got here and all of the things that we've done. I think that I'm excited for the school year, so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mrs. Koenig?
Thank you. I'm going to echo quite a few things that you said, Ms. Koslowski, but the maintenance crew we have and our technology staff are second to none. I mean, the fact that they have worked so tirelessly to seamlessly make this happen and have everything happen on time, the updates, for teachers, for staff, just letting people know where things stand, absolutely incredible. There was a lot of doubt, I know, for many people coming into this, this summer, to see what they have been able to accomplish and to feel the energy, to see it on some of our Facebook posts, the different events that some of the schools are having, the get to know yous, the activities, so kids can come together and meet their new principal and all the things that are happening. It's a testament to the exceptional district we have. And I'm also very excited to get in there. I can't wait to walk through some of the schools, as people are setting up. I think it's going to be a great year, and I hope that everyone, coming into their new schools, are going to love what they've done to get everything ready for those kids. They're going to feel that this was all done with their best interest in mind, and I think that's what our purpose is we're here to do what's best for kids and to, provide the best possible educational experience. And I feel the momentum, and I think this is going to be an outstanding year, so I'm really excited. And I hope the enthusiasm comes all the way through the first couple days of school. and we hear about it at our next meeting.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, I just want to echo first that the amount of work that's been done has been really impressive. So thanks to everybody who's been working so hard on that. I would like to know, I imagine there's been quite a bit of construction and rearranging at Lowell particularly, kind of retrofitting and that kind of thing. With the doors reopening here on August 15th, is there anything still ongoing that we're trying to get in under the wire? Is there anything that's going to be kind of overlapping as teachers get back into the building or anything like that?
I'm not aware of any construction type things that are going on in Lowell, and quite honestly, I don't think there was a lot of modification to that building. What people may be talking about, and when Kyle and I report out to the board or the finance committee, whichever direction you guys want us to go, is the work we try to do to improve the buildings on top of the moves. So whether it was all new lighting and dimmable lights like we enjoy in this building, we brought those to Lowell. Hadfield's been completely repainted, North's getting the same lights. So we tried to, even though we didn't do any formal CIP projects, we tried to make it as, this is kind of our 2.0 moment in my eyes. So when people walked in, they felt like the building was touched. And I too saw the shiny floors at South, and it did take me back. I can't think of anything, but I'll put something on the Friday update. I'll touch base with Kyle and give you a more thorough report. But the schools that all rolled out fine. We did it slowly because I think I put in a Friday update. It was changing teachers' locations and their general ledger access and their badges and all that. So we rolled it out slow, and we had I'm not aware of any, maybe a new teacher who just showed up. So we couldn't be more pleased, but we'll provide an update for the last two remaining schools. We knew early on those would be the two schools that would go last. But I think we're good to go. At Hadfield, I can say there's some painting still going on, but the principal agreed that they could bring the staff in and they'd work around it. And Meadowbrook has a little construction. Construction is probably a strong word. But other than that, I think we're really good to go. And in IT, Brian and I work closely together in coordinating all this to, Sharon and Brian and I actually would release the buildings together to make sure everything was in place. So I think it's really worked out well.
Anything else? I'm not seeing anything else that you or your team need to share with us, or?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to share, and thank you for your questions and comments.
All right. Well, we have a special matter of business that we need to attend to tonight as a result of Mrs. Ettinger's retirement. And so we have a recommendation and possible action to appoint Jody Aylesworth as the Secretary to the Board of Education effective September 1st, 2026. Dr. Siebert, do you want to share with
Sure.
Jody?
Sure. So in last week's update, or in the board packet actually, I shared the process that we went through to look for the next executive assistant to the superintendent. We had 11 applicants. 3 of those were interviewed. Mrs. Aylesworth rose to the top. She was at Horning for a significant period of time, and then had recent experience in Merton as the executive assistant to the superintendent. So she's excited to come back to the School District of Waukesha. She's a North grad, as Mrs. Voigt brought her yearbook to show her during our meet and greet that we had earlier tonight with Jody. And she's very excited to come back to the School District of Waukesha. We have a couple of days of transition at the end of August with Sue and Jody that we're looking forward to. And then her first day will be on the first day of school, which is September 1st, 2026. Traditionally, and this doesn't happen very often, and actually in 20 years of being a superintendent, it's the first time I've actually hired an executive assistant. So it's unique for me too. And ultimately, it's your decision, but traditionally, the executive assistant to the superintendent has also become the board secretary. So upon Sue's retirement, the board would not have a board secretary. However, if you are comfortable with Jody Aylesworth, who will sit in that particular spot in September, she will have her own nameplate, and she will become our new board secretary and executive assistant with your considered approval of that this evening.
Mrs. Voigt?
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to appoint Jody Aylesworth as Secretary to the Board of Education as of September 1st, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. You said September 1st, right? I want to make sure I heard you right.
September
At the
1st,
beginning.
2026.
All right, anything further? I do appreciate Dr. Siebert, you taking the lead on, and along with Sharon, with going through this whole process and creating an opportunity for the board to learn more about Mrs. Aylesworth and then also to meet her in person. So thank you for that. Any other comments? I have to ask Mrs. Ettinger if she would please take the roll call in its action.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 9-0. You're not off the hook yet. We still have 3 more weeks.
But no meetings.
No meetings.
I hope.
Well, let's hope with anything's possible, so. All right. Well, thank you for that. So we are now moving into our consent agenda. Unless anything has changed, I don't believe we have any gifts for consideration for tonight. As always, your agenda includes various categories for approval, and if any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you'll have that opportunity. Also, no expulsions for you to consider this evening. There are a number of updates to policies and bylaws. As a reminder, modifications come to the consent agenda, new policies go to those respective committees. So we have policy 5136, personal communication devices, policy 5610, suspension and expulsion, policy 5411, third grade promotion and retention, literacy, policy 1213, 3213, and 4213, student supervision and welfare, policy 7530.02, staff and school officials' use of personal communication devices, policy 7540.03, student technology acceptable use and safety, policy 7544, use of social media, policy 8120, volunteers, policy 144.5, board member behavior, communications, and code of conduct. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, please indicate so at this time. Okay, seeing none, Mrs. Koenig, would you please present the consent agenda for approval?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee approved 4 resignations and 23 new or modified contracts. The information was provided in your packet, and an addendum was placed at your desks. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zenobia. Anything further? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, Dr. Siebert, back to you for the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. We'll begin tonight with the overnight field trip report given by Deputy Superintendent Gennerman.
Good evening. I have just 2 to report that were recently approved. North Varsity Dance Team will be going to a dance invite in December of 2026. And then South, including North and West homeschool students, will be participating in a robotics rampage in August 14th and 15th, so this week, in 2026.
Robotics Rampage. Sounds fun. All right, thank you, Ms. Gennerman. Well, tonight has been a special night as we've recognized Sue for her years of service. She's certainly special, and we will enjoy our remaining days together. Her countdown calendar says 13, but I think there's only truly 8? 8. Yes, it's going to go fast. That's also our last board meeting prior to the start of the 26-27 school year. And as a cabinet and administrative team, we could not be more excited to get it started. We've built a school system in Waukesha, and we are united in kicking off this new school year in a new footprint with really exceptional energy. We appreciate your support on all fronts, and especially via the $11+ million in guaranteed and viable curriculum. Without that, we certainly don't have the #1 report card among the top 10 largest districts, and our teachers don't have what they need to best serve their students. So we're so grateful for your investments. We're also debt-free, and we're rare proof that both fiscal stewardship and academic achievement can coexist, a story that we've been telling all summer long to our legislators. I'm grateful for all that we've accomplished to date and for what promises to be an amazing school year as well. So thank you, Dr. Piasek. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siebert. All right, we are going to then move into our committee reports for this evening. And we begin tonight with the Policy and Government Relations Committee. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Madam President. The Policy and Government Relations Committee met on Monday, August 10th, 2026. There were 2 action items on the agenda, both of which were approved earlier this evening as part of the consent agenda. The first was Policy 0144.5 related to board member behavior, communications, and code of conduct. These revisions clarify that individual board members, other than the board president, do not have the authority to act on complaints or investigations. This is important because it establishes a clear chain of command and ensures complaints are handled through the proper channels consistently and fairly. The updates also modernize the code of conduct to address the digital realities of social media and instant communication by aligning with the 2025 Wisconsin Act 89, which was legislation related to appropriate communications between staff and students, and giving the board options that align with staff and volunteer requirements. These new options create necessary safeguards for board-to-student interactions and ensure that private digital conversations do not undermine public transparency. Second, we approved a series of policies that list district-approved communication platforms, which we made revisions to. These policies were Policy 1213, 3213, and 4213, Student Supervision and Welfare. Policy 7530.02, Staff and School Officials' Use of Personal Communications Devices. Policy 7540.03, Student Technology Acceptable Use and Safety. Policy 7544, Use of Social Media. And Policy 8120, Volunteers. You may recall that we added the list of district-approved communication platforms to these policies at the June 2026 board meeting, ensuring compliance with 2025 Wisconsin Act 89. We are expanding the list, and it now includes WebEx and Zoom, learning management systems such as Blackboard and Beacon, student information systems such as Infinite Campus, athletic and co-curricular management systems including Sports U, Bound, Huddle, and Game Changer, as well as Band and Cut Time. We did include an exception for emergency situations, which states that, quote, in situations where a staff member reasonably concludes the existence of an emergency situation, something other than the district-approved platforms may be used. In such cases, staff must immediately notify their administrator of the communication. Turning now to government relations, Dr. Siebert provided an update on the district's summer legislative visits. Dr. Siebert and several members of the cabinet met with Representatives Scott Adam Nealon, and Cindy Duco in July. The meetings provided an opportunity to share information about the school district of Waukesha and discuss key legislative issues impacting our district. The meetings focused on several key areas, including perceptions of the school district of Waukesha, a review of the district highlight sheet, including performance and academic achievement data, legislative topics including school start dates, Act 20 reading legislation, Acts 88 and 89, funding for recovery schools, common school funds, and detachment requests. We also discussed referendum spending and its impact on the state aid formula, which has been a recurring topic of discussion here at this table. Legislators were interested to learn that the school district of Waukesha performs above the state average and continues to show improvement. They've also been pleased to learn that the district has the highest rated report card among the 10 largest school districts in Wisconsin while also being debt-free. We do have upcoming visits that are scheduled for August 18th with Representative Dave Maxey as well as Senator Julian Bradley. Madam President, this concludes my report. The next Policy and Government Relations meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 8th at 6:45 PM in the boardroom at Blair Administration. Please note that this is a departure from our normal Monday evening meetings due to Labor Day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Any comments or questions about any of that? I appreciate the administration and the committee's work on the communication with students. Very important topic, but obviously will lead to some changes in practices. And so I think there's going to be some new things that folks are going to have to get used to this year, parents included. I think there's a lot, the consistency will be a good thing. But I guess I have curiosity on what kind of training will be done with coaches and staff as far as how that works.
Mr. Pat can describe that. He's in charge of the training and doing a nice job with it.
Yeah, so the training will be a video voiceover training that we received some guidance from our legal counsel, and we're utilizing some of the information they provided, putting that in teamwork into a Waukesha presentation that will be addressed by myself, so you will hear my voice on what that will be like. It'll be wonderful, and like we do with all of our staff members, they're required to do our policy sign-off and specific trainings that are provided to the schools and generally managed by administration and their administrative assistants. So that will be the same with specifically Act 88 and 89.
So coaches who are not otherwise employees of the district, is there a separate, are there other training requirements packages, and this is part of it, or?
They will watch this training as well. Mrs. Thiede can speak to that. We'll also have volunteers watch this training.
Okay, good.
I think you summarized it correctly. So anyone who's, any employee whatsoever, including board members, are all going to be going through this training in addition to volunteers.
Great. Congratulations, everybody. That's good. This is good. Thank you. Thank you. I also appreciate the scheduling and the work around bringing our representatives in and the amount of detail that's been able to be provided to them to help get to know us better and also help us solve some of those collective challenges. So thank you for that, Mr. Brooks and the rest of the team. Anything further? Okay, we'll move next to the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. And I will offer the committee report this evening just because we had some last minute changes on the committee on Monday night. So on behalf of Mrs. Kozlowski and the committee, let me just report that the committee met on Monday, August 10th. We had one action item on the agenda, and that action item was consideration of approval of the preliminary 2026-27 budget and tax levy. So a little bit of background on that, and I think Mr. Clark will have some things to share as well. The Finance and Facilities Committee met on Monday, August 10th. The administration presented the preliminary 26-27 budget and tax levy for committee review and approval, which allows these initial figures, emphasis on initial figures, to move forward to the budget hearing in September, or at least prior to our final budget approval in October. And we'll go through the dates. The purpose of the public budget hearing and the ongoing budget work serves as a bridge between the district administration and the community. Its core purpose is to give residents a formal platform to review proposed allocations, ask questions, and provide direct feedback before those figures are finalized. Of note, however, those figures have moved significantly over past years, so it is very difficult for us as a board to project specifically what the final budget will be. Public input, however, helps ensure that that budget aligns with community priorities while upholding our commitment to fiscal responsibility. Some of the timeline items that people should be aware of: the third Friday of September is when we receive the official pupil count results, and so we won't be able to calculate anything regarding student enrollment counts until then. October 1st is when we receive certification of the equalized property valuation, so that's the effective property wealth across the district boundaries. And then October 15th, the certification of general state aid and voucher program participation. Then at the end of October, late October, is where the board would vote on the final 26-27 budget and tax levy. It's important to note, because this happens every year, that the certification of the general state aid typically is received after our October board meeting, but prior to the final budget approval. And so that should be something that we consider in our discussion here tonight. In terms of the preliminary budget that has been proposed, in the absence of those final EAV and equalization aid numbers, the preliminary budget reflects total revenues of $218,445,710, total expenditures of $219,737,221, a preliminary tax levy of $85,032,791, which reflects a 4.79% increase over last year's levy, an anticipated tax rate or mill rate of $4.98. Now, getting back to emphasis on the preliminary budget, which represents our best estimate based on current data, the budget development does not end with the September hearing, and the work on the final budget and tax levy will continue actively through the end of October. During those final months, administration will adjust those calculations as precise state data and student enrollments are finalized. With that, based on the preliminary projected state aid and property equalization values at the time, which remain subject to change, and in anticipation of further discussion regarding expenditures for purchase services and technology, which was a request of the Finance Committee on Monday evening, the committee voted 4-0 to advance the preliminary budget to the full board for consideration. So on behalf of the committee, I would make the motion to consider that preliminary budget, and then invite the rest of the board to weigh in on either seconding so that that discussion can become active, or any other considerations about that.
Second the
Mr.
motion.
Harlan, thank you for seconding. So the motion has been seconded, is active, and that opens us up for discussion. Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thank you. So there's a lot to say about where we are for the preliminary budget, and just a couple things just in walking through this. This district has done an incredible job of being fiscally responsible. We've become debt-free. We have made sure that we are budgeting our funds that go directly to the students and the staff. We've analyzed everything that we could, and we have another piece that I think there's the politics of this 400-year property tax increase, which is just that, it's a property tax increase. And so looking at where that is, it's about a $3.5 million each year that we would be looking at. We are not, as a district, required to take that. It is a maximum ceiling, so it's the revenue limit ceiling, and we are not required by law to accept taking it. The challenge that comes with that is we just consolidated schools to close a structural deficit. What are we going to spend the money on becomes the question, and it's, in all practical purposes, it's actually a trick question, because if we choose not to take it, which I'm strongly in favor of not taking it, I don't think it's fair to our taxpayers to continue to tax on per pupil money without being wise to how are we spending it. We balance our budget every year. Granted, you're moving funds from the general into operating to balance that, but all of the work that we've done, and now we're debt-free, would tell me that a closer, deeper dive needs to happen within our financial statements. It's the time for us to understand, how does the budget truly roll up? What are we spending? What do we have opportunities to cut? And how do we look at that? So if we, as a board, decide to accept taking this per pupil increase, and again, I am not in favor of it, we have to be able to justify where that money is coming from. And so it's $3.5 million that we didn't have a year ago, and how are we going to do it? The catch-22 here is the funding formula, which is, as we've spoken numerous times, is broken. And so you are awarded, or I should say rewarded, by spending more. So go to a referendum, spend more, increase your operating budget, and that's really how the equalization aid works. So the more you spend, the more you get allocated. It's just a completely broken model. So to be wise as a board, we really need in the next couple months before the final to have a discussion, and obviously working with Darren and his team to assess what makes up our budget. What are the key costs? If we decided to go forward with $3.5 million, I want to know what we're spending it on. I want to know what hole it's filling. I want to know where it's going. If we choose not to, the risk is that we penalize ourselves in future years by having to increase taxes because we ultimately will get less aid in the next year. So it's a very complex, tricky piece. But of all of the work that we've done to date to understand where we're at, there is no greater time than right now for us to start to look bottom up. Really question what we're spending on, look at what we need, where we're doing, because what we know is that how we are allocating our funds to our staff and our students is working. We've proven that fiscal responsibility and educational outcomes are not competing priorities. We've made it work. We've become very good at it, and quite honestly, Waukesha is leading the way in academic outcomes, and we are seeing that in all of our scores. We're seeing it in the reports, and we're seeing it that we are leading above the state. So for me, approving a preliminary budget, which I truly understand is a snapshot in time, is one step of this process, but I think it would be very hard-pressed for us not to say that as a board, we need further accountability into understanding not only how that money is going to be spent, but what is currently in the budget. Why is it there? What does it absorb up? Where do you start to look at it? And this is no different than any household budget nor any corporation budget. So for me, I just think we're at a peak point, and this is a very long-winded response, but without me there on Monday, we really need to start talking about what these all mean, because the revenue formula and the calculation is merely a roll forward. It's based on the number of students, the 3-year average, equalization aid, and the levy to our taxpayers. We've committed to our taxpayers to hold the line and do what we can control. We can't control equalization aid, which is driving the levy increase. And I want to be really clear, there's nothing that this board can do to protect that levy increase when it compares directly to the aid. But we do have a responsibility and control over exactly what does it cost us to operate this district.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo much of what Mrs. Kozlowski said. We've spoken at length about the issues with the funding formula, the timing of when we get our aid calculations and how that fits in with our budget process. We've spoken at length about how the funding formula fundamentally rewards districts that are high spending districts, while districts like ours, which are low spending, debt-free, fiscally responsible, continue to get punished in the formula. Public schools are adequately funded in this state. We spend a record amount of money, more money now than ever before, on K-12 public education. The way the money gets dispersed to schools is broken. And it is districts like ours that are on the short end of the stick every single time. I agree that we are not, I would like to see a snapshot of what this looks like if we do not take the additional $325 per student as allowed in the 400-year property tax increase. I think we owe it to our taxpayers to look at that. I think we have shown that we are able to get great results for our students while operating on lean budgets. We don't have to sacrifice fiscal responsibility for academic outcomes. We don't have to sacrifice academic outcomes for fiscal responsibility. So I'd like to see what that looks like, especially with the looming threat of Act 10 potentially being struck down or repealed, and the property tax impact that will have, an additional $2 billion in property tax hikes on Wisconsinites every single year. We need to be cognizant of what is going to happen, because we have a lot of folks in this district who do not send their kids to schools, do not have kids in public schools, but they do pay property taxes. and we need to be cognizant of what they're seeing and what they're feeling too, because, they're our constituents just as much as folks who send their kids to our schools. So I would like to take a look at that. And I think those conversations around the funding formula are going to continue, and some of those conversations that we're having with lawmakers too. They're well aware of it. We've seen, Senator Bradley and others introduce legislation to try to fix that referendum shared cost piece, which unfortunately affects us when other districts pass referendums. We're trying to get that solved. They're receptive to it. I'm very grateful for our lawmakers for hearing us on that. I think fixing the funding formula overall is a longer process, but these are why these conversations are important.
Mr. Harland?
I just wanted to note as part of the committee conversation that nowhere in the state aid funding is actual outcomes or performance considered. When state aid is calculated for districts, it is simply how much you can spend. So as our district continues to exceed expectations, perform very highly, we are not rewarded with additional funding for that. In fact, we're probably penalized because we are doing the right things. And it's unfortunate that we are in this situation, but we continue to make the hard choices and make the right decisions to do what is right for not only our students, but also our taxpayers and stakeholders in the district.
I'm going to give everybody an opportunity that might have something to say. So when we talked about this as a committee, I think now that we're in this space where we really only have one lever to adjust, and that is whether or not we agree to accept the allowable per pupil increase. There are some statutory considerations about what would happen if we declined that for a year. We could catch up on that in a subsequent year. Couple things that, and I want to try to simplify this for board members and anyone in the community who may be paying attention to this conversation, because part of this and having a preliminary budget is being open to that community dialogue to understand what is affecting what we're doing here. The work that we've done to actually reduce the costs associated with educating the volume of students we have provides us the opportunity to redistribute those resources to get them as close to the students in the classroom as possible versus spending them on buildings or other things that we may not need to do the job that we're called to do. So we've created that capacity by making the difficult decisions, and so we should leverage that opportunity. The additional money, I think in the spirit of the per pupil increase, was intended to address the increase in costs associated with operating that are just a natural result of inflation and CPI and all of that. So we want to continue to have competitive wages and benefits, and we want to be able to keep up with things like fuel costs and transportation and all the other things and utilities. I think what was missing, and I think it needs to be part of the ongoing conversation, is what's going up and what have we been able to control to come down. We've made responsible decisions about allocating dollars for curriculum as it comes due, and so we don't have surprises there. But something I want to emphasize in terms of the funding formula so that we understand where we're at with the per pupil, whether you agree with how the veto happened or not, or that 325 is the right number, or it's some other number, or it's zero. The way Mr. Brooks alluded to, and Ms. Kozlowski as well, the way that the funding formulas work, they're complicated by design because then they're not in our control, and that needs to change. But we are already the lowest spending per pupil that we can be. So because we are at the low revenue ceiling, because we have no debt, we can't spend any less unless we start giving things back. So relative to all of the other districts in Wisconsin, who I assume will take the per pupil increase, if we don't, and in principle, if we agree that that's not the right thing to do, if we don't, we will be further penalized because that will snowball into lower shared cost that goes into the aid formula next year. So we would be lower representation, so we will get less aid next year. And we will also get a lower portion of what's called the school levy tax credit. So many of us see that as a second line item on our tax bill. That is a different calculation. So for people who live in Genesee or Brookfield or Pewaukee or Delafield, it's based on your municipality's school tax as a function of the property wealth of that municipality. And so that's a different equation altogether. But when the expenditures go down because we've accepted less funding, that will negatively impact our future aid, and it will negatively impact the school levy tax credit for certain municipalities. And I think the surrounding municipalities often do a little bit better than the city of Waukesha, for what that's worth. And so I'm not saying that as a means to justify accepting the per pupil. I just think it's important that people understand that if we stand on principle on the 325 per pupil or some other number, and we are the only district that chooses to do that, and we are the only large district that chooses to be debt-free, and we continue down a fiscally responsible path, the current funding formulas will continue to hurt us. And so I think we need to turn our attention to these ongoing legislator visits. I know there are several who understand this problem, who have attempted to make some corrections. Unfortunately, we also find ourselves at a point where we're somewhat upside down in this conversation, because the majority of legislators who would have to weigh in on changing the funding formula to benefit a district that is fiscally responsible, like Waukesha, is currently financially benefiting from the broken funding formula. So that's pretty frustrating, right? I think it's important that our constituents understand that too, because the more we try to keep things in the box and spend less, the less we're actually going to receive. We do receive a somewhat large amount of aid from the state, and so proportionately, because of the balance of poverty and wealth we have within the district, decent amount. But that means that small percentages of change in that have a huge impact on our bottom line. So I think as we all sit here wanting to be responsible and not wanting to push this on to taxpayers, just really important to understand that all of these equations are not, they're just not going to work in favor of a district that is spending less to get better outcomes. So we have to decide if we want to advance a preliminary budget with some additional consideration for how we want or would spend that money, or if we want to do a bottom-up budgeting exercise, which I think would be worth doing. I don't see a path in which, given the aid impact that we have, even if we didn't take the per pupil, the levy will go up, because the aid impact is bigger than the per pupil increment that we can ask for. So we're in a position now that after all the work that we did over the last year and a half, which is important that we did it because the lines were diverging significantly and now they're closer to parallel, we are still going to have to push at least a 1% to 2% increase if we declined the per pupil, keeping in mind that if we do that, the aid is just going to continue to go down going forward. As long as districts who pass mega referendums continue to be rewarded for that. So, any suggestions? Mr. Clark, sure.
Just one thing, because I know people out there, and I'll get texts or emails tomorrow. When we say, how are we going to spend the money? The board needs to recognize that money was spent with every settlement, every health insurance premium that was established. I don't want people to sit there at home thinking we have $3 million sitting here and we're deciding on how to spend that money, because there's a whole chain of events and decisions that the board makes from roughly March through today that is bringing that inflationary factor to just about all the major line items, whether it's a bus contract or whatever. So, and then the only other thing I want to add on the, because I think the dialogue's great, and I'm more than willing to dig into the budget as much as the finance committee wants to. But one of the things that I think makes me wonder if we shouldn't go ahead, and ultimately your decision, there's nothing technically wrong with holding the budget hearing later, is the transparency part of this. And I think the community should be educated on our loss of state aid. Look at the dialogue we've had tonight that normally we probably wouldn't have gone into. I think there's some value there. That's just a wondering of mine. I can't say that that's the right path, but I just think it's important for the board to know you're not locking yourself into a levy or anything like that, but there's no wrong answer to that in terms of the timing of it. I'm just wondering if there's some benefits one way over the other.
Would our treasurer like to respond to that?
I don't, I think that the concept of all of this is yes, and I agree with Mr. Clark, it's not an increase of 3.5 million per se, but for practicality it is. And so everything for me when I look at things operationally, much of the effort and the heartburn and the work and that we went through was to navigate us out of a structural deficit, and we briefly talked about that today. So we knew we were already in holes. We consolidated schools. We've had some benefits and staffing costs. We will have benefits and facilities costs. And if you remember, our three biggest costs are our staffing, our curriculum, and our infrastructure, so our facilities. So over the course of the last 6 years, we've now addressed all three. Okay, so I can't do any more, but with the one part that we really haven't addressed is having a true view of what does it truly cost me to operate this district, and it's a bottom-up budget. However you want to look at this, how do I know what I'm spending and what I need? And the way that these complex district budgets are built, are roll forwards based on pupils and 3-year averages, and then there's aid and there's credits and there's vouchers and oh my. But the reality is at some point in time, we have to be honest with what the heck we're spending. So from curriculum to IT to the lights on to if we're not looking at that, and I think now more than ever, this is that time. What are we spending? How much does it truly cost me to operate this district? Recognizing, I think both Mr. Clark and Dr. Piasek called it too, there is inflation, there's teacher wages, there's healthcare, there's all, that's part of everything, right? So those costs are gonna continue to grow, and they're recurring and they're compounding, especially staff. But the conundrum that we're in is that we won't go to a referendum because we don't need to. We do know how to manage the budget, and this look, I think, of over to the best we can before we do a final budget in October, it's fair for us to say, can we try to do and start digging in, and this is something with the finance team staffing, right, that we start to look at the analytical side of our costs, not just 2 months before it's due, but I think we're at that point, and when we've got delays too, because we won't have the full recognition of the cost savings for all the things that we're doing. But conceptually, yes, we need to do a better job at telling me what it costs me to run this district, okay? And so that exercise is worth it, and I think that it gives me comfort understanding like what all of these things mean and where they have, because just like any other thing, there's things that we're spending money on that we don't need to be spending money on. And then there's things that we should be spending and advancing that we should be focusing on it. And without that exercise, we sit here because we don't really know. We have a good idea, but we don't truly know. And so I'm just asking the team just to take that look, and then, and honestly, going forward, we just need to get more granular.
Mrs. Gren?
I do agree with Mrs. Kozlowski. I think that's an imperative practice that we do to see where we're lying in our budget before this goes to further vote. So one of the challenges in these budget cycles also is that we are now into our fiscal year, and we don't know these variables in our budget. So we have expenses to pay, we have buildings that are going to open, and the kids are going to show up after Labor Day, and we're operating. And that's just an unfortunate, probably correctable situation as well. So from a transparency and a compliance perspective, we do need to offer something to the community. We do need to have a budget hearing, and more likely than not, that budget hearing happens before we have final numbers, unless we can thread that needle in October, so nobody travel the second half of October. But this is kind of where we're at right now, unless, and until we understand a little bit more. I think there were some good topics that came up at the committee meeting. I think Mr. Gallagher brought up some really good questions about the couple of the different technology categories that would be helpful to understand what's there and what we could do there. There were, we had talked about the special education piece as well, which is, and I think what would be helpful, Mr. Clark, is understanding those things that are increasing that we really don't have control over the increase in cost, whether it be inflationary cost or whether it's contractual because of an agreement that we have on the transportation side, or because it's fuel or something that or special ed, for example, that we really can't contain. If you note in that budget, the $37 million in the special education expenditures, and thanks to Mr. Pat and the entire administrative team and district special educators, and we are very good at this. We provide excellent services, and that means that a lot of students choose to be here, and that's good. We want that. But the more of those we have to provide, that's going to continue to hit our expenditures. But if we understand that and we can be honest with our community about what we're asking them to cover, that I feel much more comfortable supporting whatever that bottom number is, if I can say this is because of the following. I do think this isn't the last time that we're going to sit here and see a reduction in state aid. So there's some precedent associated with the decisions that we make and how we go about doing this, knowing that we're always going to be in this cycle of, what happens at the end. And would we take the same approach if we had an increase, knowing that that's going to be a short-lived scenario? So I don't think we're ever going to have that again, but. So getting back to maybe the timeline of things. We will get our pupil counts third Friday of September.
The count's taken on the third Friday.
It's taken, right, so it'll take a
End of
little
the
bit to
month,
get that,
roughly.
yeah. Right around the early October, where we have that certification of the equalized property valuation, and then middle of October. And then typically, we would have the budget hearing prior to the September board meeting. But that would require having something released tonight, realistically, to the public, right? Unless we had a special meeting between now and September. Otherwise, we could hold that hearing, could we hold that hearing until the October?
Yeah, we could have I don't know how the 15th falls, but ideally, if you want the hard numbers, it comes on the 15th. If it's on the weekend, it usually comes the Friday before. You might get it early. So we could try to do something right after that. We've had that in the past in the budget building calendar. where the board could have a special meeting, because you do have, all this information all of a sudden hits you, and you're in the fourth or so month of the fiscal year. So we can certainly do that. I do look forward to the F&F meetings we're going to have, because I do think if we have very focused agenda, we can cover a lot of material in 2 months. I think it'll be beneficial for us too, just to see the questions you have and maybe how we can go about better displaying that. But yeah, we have the flexibility with the budget hearing. The only thing that has us tied to September 9th is tradition, and that can be easily changed. So it's really up to you how you want the timing of that to occur. But the real gain will be, I mean, the third Friday account will give us some information, but really it's that aid number and the voucher numbers that also go in the revenue limit that come in on the 15th. All that information hits. So if you really want to fine tune tax picture, I would think have to come in like the 17th or 18th or somewhere in that range. We have till the end of the month to approve the final budget and tax levy. We have to certify with the municipalities. I always say November 1st. I think it's more like the 5th or something. So again, some flexibility, and there's nothing wrong with changing the budget calendar, because we are in a new world now that we're debt-free. Defeasances are done. And I have to say, aid has gotten more swings in it now than it has in a long time. So for those of you, just to provide scale, we've lost 15% of our state aid over the last 2 years. It's roughly $10 million that majority of that goes back onto the taxpayers. We've just been able to soften it by becoming debt-free and mapping that out, I think, pretty effectively.
Okay. So we have a couple options, because we have a motion that was seconded, so we have the opportunity to take a vote on this. We actually have 3 options, and let me just kind of run through what I see those to be. Please correct me if you see it differently. We can take the vote if the motion were to pass. Any member who voted yes to support that motion would have the opportunity at a later date to reconsider. So if we wanted to do that, we could do that. If we take the roll call vote and it fails, then we would have the opportunity to come back around and propose a different budget at a different time. We could take any amendments to that motion, and we could consider those tonight if anybody feels prepared for that. Or between Mr. Harlan and I, we could contemplate whether we could rescind that motion and then carry on for further conversation. So I'll see that as those are the viable options, I think, that we have. Any thoughts about that? Mrs. Kozlowski?
Also, just a reminder that we are required by state law to pass a budget, so just keeping that in mind. But I think with the options in the discussion, progressing forward and working through F&F to assess the rise in cost, and I guess I look at it this way, so there's $3.5 million of per pupil aid if that goes through, if we decide to take that. That's going to be allocated to X things because inflationary or rise in service costs are going to increase. So lay that out, and Mr. Clark, you and I can kind of navigate through that. But then it's taking a look at the biggest categories of our spend. So what are the biggest categories of the spend? What are we looking at? And we can do this in a different fashion, that it doesn't have to be as granular as ground up, but it gets me to cover the largest cost. Special ed is obviously the largest. And breaking down those pieces so that you can filter in as to where the rising revenue ceiling is coming, how it's and where it's allocated, and then navigating through the big things. But for me personally, as kind of bullheaded as I want to be about this per pupil aid, it's, our objective as a board is to do what is best for the district, the staff, and the students, and that has to come at our heart first and foremost. I don't see a reason to progress against that right now. It doesn't mean that we can't change it, but I think it gives us an opportunity to do some investigative research to get to where we need to be able to actually present some concrete data points to be able to make a better decision than where we're at. And I think Mr. Clark had already mentioned that part and being able to build that together with us. And so we could make the F&F committees a little bit more robust just to dig into some of this on the budget pieces. But that personally, I think would be the recommendation for us for right now is, I don't know what pausing on this is doing because this work has to happen regardless.
Okay, so the next F&F committee is on September 7th. The next board meeting is on September 9th. If we were to move a preliminary budget forward, then we could bring it to the October board meeting essentially for a hearing. The interesting part about that is the October board meeting is actually on the 14th, the day before we're going to get the certified aid numbers. And so that might be kind of irrelevant.
If we do have an opportunity to move the dates, I think we seize that opportunity. Yeah, I love that.
Why?
I don't know, the community probably can't see the fly running
No.
around. But I think if we have the options to be able to extend dates, to give us the flexibility to have granular, or a better view of data to the point we can pull together, I think that warrants it.
Okay. So this is kind of unique because the motion is advanced on behalf of the recommendation of the committee. But the mover, who would be the committee chair or the presenter, me acting on behalf of F&F tonight, would have the opportunity to seek, would there be any objections to withdrawal of the motion? And I would specifically consider objections on behalf of the committee members who were in attendance on Monday night.
I was just going to comment, I mean, if we were to proceed and pass, we are still able to consider and adjust as we move forward. This is more of a statutory process that we are looking to move forward tonight.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you were clarifying is if we went ahead tonight with this as the preliminary, we can still get to September and say that we want to revise it.
We can move forward with the budget that was presented and motioned, still execute on investigating a secondary budget, a base-up budget, and make any adjustments from that point.
Yeah, that was, excuse me, largely what I was going to clarify. What Mr. Harlan did was advancing this budget tonight still gives us time to make adjustments. And one further thing to clarify, I don't know if I heard that maybe there was a suggestion in moving the board meeting to another date in October to see the numbers come in that we need, or was that not, did I not hear that correctly?
Not the board, the budget hearing.
The budget hearing, okay, okay, thank you.
And it may be that we need to have a special meeting in there somewhere or some sort of a workshop to talk about what we're doing, but.
Or a special finance committee.
Yeah,
Right
that's a good
after,
point.
or
Yeah.
something like that. Sure. And of course, there'll be a special meeting for the final adoption too, just so everyone's.
Are you getting all this, Sue? Are you
Seems
glad
like
this is
Sue
your
would
last
re-
meeting?
Sue would really like an additional meeting to attend.
I'm just trying to figure out if I have any vacation days.
We're going to have to move to approve some vacation days for Sue. Mental health days. Okay, I do think just in proper form here, if we carry through with this motion that we have active, that a reconsideration would have to be brought forward by people who are voting in the affirmative of this. So keep that in mind. Okay. So, and Mr. Gallagher, I don't know if you had any thoughts, but what I'm hearing from what I'm hearing from, I see I'm on video, from at least two members of the committee is maybe we continue and we go forward with the vote.
Yeah.
Okay? Mr. Gallagher, any concerns or thoughts about that? Okay. Anybody else? Mrs. Koenig?
So just to clarify, a vote moving this forward does not lock anything in. There's still room for discussion and possible, revisions within the next, cycle of meetings.
It's a preliminary budget that we would still have the next 2 months to consider revisions to.
Okay. So, thank you.
Okay. And then with that, I would just like to ask Dr. Siebert and Mr. Clark that if you could please maybe take the opportunity to work with the media so that there's no misunderstanding about the decision that we're taking tonight. Because I think sometimes that gets out in front of us. Okay. Anything else? Question?
I do.
Yeah.
So the motion was to consider this preliminary budget and tax levy.
Correct.
Is that approved or just?
Your mic.
The motion was said to consider the preliminary budget and tax levy. Is this an approval or just to consider?
The motion is to approve the preliminary budget and tax levy.
Okay.
On behalf of the F&F committee, so there are no modifications to that here tonight. Yeah. Okay? All right. Ready? Mrs. Ettinger?
I'm ready. Mitch Gallagher?
Aye.
Thomas Harlan?
Aye.
Diane Voigt?
Aye.
Natalie Gren?
Aye.
Betty Koenig?
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia?
Aye.
Eric Brooks?
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski?
Aye.
Kelly Piasek?
Aye. Passes 9-0. And thank you, everybody, for a very thoughtful conversation. All right, there was one other discussion or information item at the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. The administration reported that closeout procedures for fiscal year 25-26 are underway. Despite a brief unexpected 2-week loss of financial software access, the district auditors successfully completed their initial field work last week. Any questions about that? The next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting will be on Tuesday, September 8th. You sure about that? Yeah.
Labor Day is Monday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep, because of Labor Day. Yes, Tuesday, September 8th at 5:30 here in the boardroom. That concludes the F&F report. Okay, moving next to the Teaching and Learning Committee, presented by Mrs. Koenig.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 at 7:22 p.m. here in the boardroom. We have 2 action items and 1 discussion information item on our agenda this evening. The first action item is the approval of the 3-year library plan. State Statute PI 8.01 School District Standard Parent 2 Parent H outlines library media service requirements regarding a long-range plan. In August of 2023, an SCW library plan was presented and approved by the TNL committee and then the full school board. This report highlighted accomplishments from the current library plan in the areas of collaborative leadership, budget, and curriculum and instruction. The team has drafted a new 3-year library plan to focus on collaborative leadership, budget, curriculum and instruction, and time and space. The proposed plan articulates goals in each area and can be viewed on board docs as part of the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the 2026 through 2029 3-year library plan as it was presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Mrs. Voigt?
I second it.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions or comments from anybody? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger?
Diane Voigt?
Aye.
Betty Koenig?
Aye.
Natalie Gren?
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski?
Aye.
Eric Brooks?
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher?
Aye.
Thomas Harlan?
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia?
Aye.
Kelly Piasek?
Aye, passes 9-0. Mrs. Koenig.
Okay. The second item is the approval of the charter school contracts for Waukesha Engineering Preparatory Academy and Waukesha Academy of Health Professions. The School District of Waukesha has a history of authorizing specialized charter schools, including the Waukesha Academy of Health Professions, or I'll call it WAP, and the Waukesha Engineering Preparatory Academy, WEPA, which operate as district instrumentalities with independent governing boards. The contract for WAP and WEPA are ending this month. This presentation provided an overview of the redesigned contract, including a renewal evaluation and the contract itself. As part of the charter school's renewal evaluation, Maria D'Amato Cucce shared information about student academic performance, student enrollment, and financial viability, and board governance. Based on the information provided, the district is recommending the renewal of a contract with the governance board for WAP and WIPA. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the evaluation of performance and the new 5-year term contract for Waukesha Engineering Preparatory Academy and the Waukesha Academy of Health Professions as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brooks. Any discussion on that topic? Okay, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay, and our first discussion item this evening is the discussion on a new course, AP Business and Personal Finance. The College Board announced the introduction of this new course during the 2024-2025 school year. AP Business with Personal Finance is designed to serve as a foundational course that aligns with multiple programs of study within career and technical education business pathways. This would be the first advanced placement course our district offers in the business department. Since the course was announced, the College Board piloted the curriculum and shared the final course framework. Textbooks companies have recently released resources to support this content. The Teaching and Learning team initially presented information on this potential new course to the Teaching and Learning Committee last November. The most recent presentation from the Teaching and Learning team provided additional information beyond the course framework. The presentation included information on units of study, learning objectives, and essential knowledge that would be covered during the course. A preview of the text the team would recommend to support the new courses was discussed, along with recent changes the state has made in how this course will meet the graduation requirement for financial literacy. The committee discussed the enrollment of AP courses and possible ramifications if this course were to be approved. The committee has also discussed the state standards related to the financial literacy requirements. In the end, more information is needed on the possible addition of AP Business with Personal Finance. No action was taken at the meeting. Madam President, are there comments? Okay, Madam President, that concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 1st, 2026 at 7 p.m. here in the Blair Administration Building Boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there a question or a comment on that, Mr. Harlan? Okay, anything else on teaching and learning? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Koenig. We will move next to the Student Services Committee given by Mr. Harlan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Student Services Committee meeting was held on August 4th, 2026, and there were 2 possible action items and 4 discussion and information items on the agenda. The first action item was Policy 5136, Personal Communication Devices. This policy revision was a result of the 2025 Wisconsin Act 42. The policy regulates student personal communication devices, PCDs, which includes cell phones, tablets, laptops, and gaming devices to minimize disruptions, prevent academic dishonesty, protect privacy, and deter cyberbullying. The policy includes these exceptions: emergencies, medical or health management, IEP or 504 plan accommodations, teacher-approved educational activities, and district-approved uses that support student well-being. The updates to policy 5136, personal communication devices, were approved in the committee and as well as in the consent agenda this evening. Second action item was policy 5610, suspension and expulsion. The revision adds the sentence of finality to the suspension process. The updates to policy 5610, suspension and expulsion, were approved in committee as well as during the consent agenda this evening. We had a number of discussion and information items. The first one was the CESA 6 partnership. Hadassah Robinson, Director of the Elementary Special Education, presented information on our partnership with the CESA 6 for literacy learning. The goal of the partnership is to equip educators with the framework and tools needed to design and implement effective, specially designed instruction for academic growth. During the 25-26 school year, literacy coaches, principals, and special education chair people collaborated to enhance instructional practices and align them with the science of reading. The goal for the second year of the partnership is to expand the teams to include elementary special education teachers and continue to build the knowledge and sustain instructional fidelity to evidence-based practices. Our second item was behavior data update. Mr. Ryan Patt presented student behavior and attendance data from the 25-26 school year with comparisons to the 24-25 school year. The number of behavioral incidents resulting in missed instructional time did decrease. Absenteeism was also down, both excused and unexcused. The third item was the recovery high school planning. Mr. Patt shared an update on Crosspoint Academy, our new high school, or recovery high school. Our process and documents have been drafted. We continue to meet with recovery school consultants, community organizations, and potential students. The program coordinator, Jody Ebinger-Bentley, and teacher, Michael Lassard, are excited to begin the school year. Our final item was the beginning of the school year safety update. Mr. Ryan Patt provided information about the ongoing planning for drop-off and pickup at all schools. He also shared that principals will be reviewing their campuses for other areas of need. The e-bike communication around safe practices that was sent back in May will be sent to families once again before the school year begins. This completes the Student Services Committee report. The committee will meet again on Tuesday, September 1st at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Thank you, Mr. Harland. Anything further for Mr. Harland for the Student Services Committee? All right. The last committee report for tonight is Human Resources and Compensation. Mrs. Koenig, any additional updates?
Madam President, our action items were covered in the consent agenda this evening. We have no additional action items to report this evening. We did have some discussion information items, though. We had a review of the exit survey data. The Human Resource Committee reviewed the exit survey data provided by Mrs. Thady. The top two main reasons the 27 respondents were not returning were due to retirement, 10 of those, and relocation, 5 respondents. 14 respondents provided an optional secondary reason. 3 were for better salary and benefits, 2 were for retirement, and 2 were for a shorter commute. Human Resources will continue to collect and monitor the data to see if there are areas to improve in the future. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, that concludes our committee reports for this evening. At this time, we're moving into other business. Are there any recommendations for future board or committee action or discussion items? Okay. Seeing none, we do have a need to adjourn to executive session this evening. We will need someone to address items B and C, and we will be returning after that closed session. Mr. Harland.
I would like to motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is in regards to the sale of district property and the Lindholm Building, the right of first refusal. Also, adjourning to executive session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This is in regards to the superintendent evaluation and compensation for superintendent and executive administrators.
Second. Seconded by Mrs. Kozlowski. All right. Mrs. Ettinger, would you like to take one last roll call,
I
please?
would. Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Natalie Gren.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Mitch Gallagher.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt. Aye. Kelly Piasek.
Aye. Passes 9-0. And again, Sue, thank you so much for your service to the
You're very
district.
welcome.
That adjourns our regular business for tonight. As I mentioned, we will need to return. Our next meeting is after the first day of school, so enjoy the last few weeks of summer. And we will be back here on Wednesday, September 9th at 6:30. Thank you.